What is up? This is Zombie Talk 123 here. Sorry, I've not made a video in a while. I see I've lost some subscribers. I'm very sorry, disappointing you guys. But if you guys would wait, I think you'd be in for a little treat. I have been making videos on trading autograph cards. I just felt like doing it, I guess. So now I'm back though, and it's time to talk about predictions. I'm so excited for spring training. Of course, my favorite team is the Cardinals, but I do know a lot about every other team, or I like to think I do. And I will be going on MLB baseball blogs. They're doing the whole 30 for 30 spring training overlook. The last video, the Astros, really well done. I watched some of it. 32-minute long video, very in-depth. They bring in some guys to talk about the Astros spring training, looking forward to the future. So definitely check those videos out. I will be on that show. And just, I'll be talking about the Cardinals. So, but I thought I wanted to talk about the Cardinals because I can really dissect this team one by one and hopefully do a good job of doing it and entertain you guys in the process. So, looking at this team, first of all, I want to say 2011 was an absolutely magical season. I couldn't have expected anything better. Seeing, in midseason September, I always try to get over things quickly and try not to make a big deal about it. So when we were losing, it looked like we were going to lose. And I wanted to stay faithful, and I'm very optimistic. I'm not, when you hear about Cardinal fans turning off the game in Game 6, I would have never done that. I actually wasn't watching the game because I had a play performance that night. I went back and I was listening to it in the radio and following it, Steak and Shake and listening to the radio and things like that. And I just freaked out and ran around, naked in Lowe's parking lot, with all these people are just screaming, freaking out. It was great. But I wouldn't have turned it off because win or lose, you have to see it through. The players are going through this. You as a fan, you have to go through this. You have to see your team either do the impossible or, fail. And you have to accept that. And at Steak and Shake, that night I was following it, on my iPhone or whatever. Then I went to listen to the radio. And I just, I always try to, quickly get over things. I kept saying, like, the Rangers played a really good series. They deserve this. We were even lucky to be in the World Series. We played great, though. You got to keep our heads up. We have a great future with this team, with the young guys. If we don't sign Albert, we have a lot of money to spend the next few years. We have a great organization going forward. And then we kept coming back, and we kept coming back, and we won. And the spirit on the team was absolutely unbelievable. So I'm sorry I just spent like 2 minutes talking about 2011, but it's time to look at 2012. I went to the winter warm-up. It was great to see all the players, prepared for the next season. It was really fun. Met a lot of players. And now let's go position by position, what we need to talk about. At the catching position, I think Yadier Molina will be talked about a lot. Press always finds ways, the 24-hour news cycle, they will find ways and then find things to talk about. And I think sometimes as consumers and sometimes as just watchers and ordinary people, I guess, if you want to say it, or fans, we get manipulated by the press. We don't need to talk about Yadi 24/7. Yes, we do realize he will be a free agent after this year. Yes, the team does too. The front office, they've probably known this for a long time. They've been expecting this. They've been preparing figures. You always hear about teams saying, they've saved some money away. The Rays, before they signed some guys this offseason, they saved about $6 million for Carlos Pena because they knew they wanted to make a run at him. All right, teams do that. They save money for possible extensions. They're not, absolutely relentless, and they're not reckless when they go out there and just sign a bunch of free agents without knowing that they're going to have to sign their own, brought up guys to extensions. So, they obviously have been saving some money for Yadi. The fact that Pujols left, it sucks, and it brings some questions whether Yadi will leave. Longtime friend. The Angels will be looking for a franchise catcher. It could be, a nightmare that will never end with this whole Angels taking our players. This is a $3 billion TV deal. This is a big market team out in LA. Who would you rather have, bidding for maybe one of the best players to ever live? You'd rather have a team that has $3 billion TV deal recently, is in LA, and a huge market team, and they won. All right, and I think we need to get over the fact that Albert left. Obviously, it was sad, and it took a little bit to get over, maybe a week or something, and then you have to put it in perspective, though, and try to put in perspective and see what are the positives. Everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that, and some things might not, but we learn from things, and hopefully we'll learn from this that we have to appreciate players when they're here. We had them for 10 years or 11 years. And, a lot of teams don't have that cemented number 3 hitter that is just bound to hit home runs, every few games. It's just a fantastic player defensively, offensively, off the field, on the field. And we were so lucky to have him. So we need to recognize that and say, thank you for your time, Albert, but it is time to move on. We are saving a lot of money. If you think about this, the money that we would have spent on Albert, this year, we spent on 3 guys for this year and the next year, and then when those salaries go off contract, we have all this money to spend the next 8 years. And while we are spending money, getting possible free agents, looking at guys, there's gonna be some good free agents coming up, some outfielders, some really good starting pitchers, some relievers. There's a lot of option for the Cardinals. So while we have this money to spend, when Berkman goes off the books, Loesch goes off the books, Westbrook goes off the books in 2 years, when Beltran does, in 2 years. When Call does, then you have all these free agents. But not only that, we'll have all these young guys. Our system is one of the best in baseball. It's gotten so much better. We produce so many really solid major leaguers. John Jay, Alan Craig, Daniel Descalso, David Freese. Well, we traded for him, but still helped him up in the organization. We got so many exciting players like Shelby Miller, Matt Adams, Colton Wong, just starting to become Oscar Taveras. Hit almost 400 last year. A lot of sleepers in the draft. We've had a great draft in the last few years. It's gotten better, and we have a lot of good draft picks this year. So I only expect this team to have a bright future. No matter what happens in 2012, I think they have a fantastic team for 2012. I think they'll probably win more games in the regular season in 2012 than they did in 2011. Excuse me. Even after that huge, at the end of the season streak, I think that they have a better overall team. If you go on the free agent market, you can't pick up anyone better than getting Adam Wainwright. He's an ace. You just can't find anyone better than him on the free agent market. So number 1, we pick up Adam Wainwright. Number 2, we still have Carpenter. Number 3, Jaime Garcia will mature, hopefully, and even do better than last season. Number 4, I don't think Kyle Loesch will have maybe as good a season, but he could grow onto what he had last year. He was, pretty healthy all season, and if he stays that way in 2012, I think he could have as good or better season. In 2008, he broke out with that 14 wins. We'll get his salary off the books in the year. And even if they do get hurt, we have so many options, like Lance Lynn, Mark Zepchinski, Kyle McClellan, if he doesn't get traded, can still start. Those are all viable options for that 5th start, and plus Brandon Dixon too. He's also an option. And then you look at Jake Westbrook, and I think he will surprise people. A lot of St. Louis Insiders, they just keep saying the same thing. If you're looking for a pleasant surprise, look for Jake Westbrook. He is going to be a huge pleasant surprise for the Cardinals, and I hope he is. I hope he can get to that 13, 14 win stature that he was a few years ago with the Indians. And he did pretty well when he came with the Cardinals in 2010 too. So I would love to see him do well. Remember, he did get the win in Game 6. A crazy game. He got the win. Mark Lowe got the loss. So, it would be very interesting to see how this team does. The rotation is really good, though. Whether we're going to try to sign Roy Oswalt or not, that could still happen on our price. But really, on a 1-year deal, I don't see the harm of signing Roy Oswalt. That just means someone's going to have to go to relief, and I would assume it would be Kyle Loesch or Jake Westbrook, depending on who pitches well in spring training and what they think. I'm kind of more for Kyle Loesch going to the relief, just because I think Jake Westbrook could really pleasantly surprise us. But Jake Westbrook did go to relief in the playoffs, so probably be more realistic to say he would. Mike Matheny, though, very excited about him. I met him in St. Louis. He's a great guy. I think he's going to do a great job with this Cardinals team. You look at first base, and it frees up some time for a guy like Matt Adams, who's just an amazing hitter. So power. He's a huge guy that no scouts expect to do anything athletic-wise, but he is just a hitter. And the fact that we can have him in a few years in St. Louis and not cost a lot of money, and he'll be freed up because Albert is left is actually really exciting. And then you look at Lance Berkman for this year. I'm not sure he's going to have as good as year offensively as he did last year, but hopefully pretty close, and that will be huge for us. And then the outfield, getting Beltran was huge. I think he will be fine in right field, maybe play a little center, but his power and his overall hitting, hit like 300 last year. I'm very excited of having him on the team. So, Beltran is a good number 2 hitter. I think is going to be a number 2 hitter for the team. Mike Matheny likes him there, and I'm very excited to having him adding that power. And then you have Matt Holliday, of course. We have him for the next few years. We have him in left field, cemented 3 hitter. Finally getting a bat in that 3 hole. I think, as a 4 hole, he can do really well, but I think with the higher on base percentage, I think it's better to have him in the 3 hole than you have Berkman in the 4th and see what Freese can do in a full season of being healthy in the 5th hole. We've seen what he can do. He has great hitting ability, so I expect there'll be more production. The 3 at third base. Between second base, it'll be between Skip Schumacher and Daniel Descalso. And if Descalso can hit a little better, he'll be fine. His defense is great at third shortstop or second. But the fact is, we're going to have better production at shortstop, less errors. Terrio, so many errors that cost us games. Way less errors at shortstop. Hopefully more productive at shortstop, hitting wise. More, we'll be around the same at second. More production at third. Be around the same at first, maybe a little less. And in the outfield, it'll be even better. When you look at the outfield, and I'm sorry I didn't have another picture to put up, so I'm just going to put a picture of the arch. But this St. Louis team, though, is fantastic going forward. I love the way this organization is going. Hopefully this draft will be very productive and get a lot of really talented players. And I think they're going to go for high-ceiling players and some, more reliable college players, not as risky picks. But, 5 picks in the first 60 overall picks is really good and something that we have not had in a few years. So hopefully they do a really good job. But this system, the Midwest League in Class A, I live in the Quad Cities. I get to see them win the championship for the Midwest League. This is just a great group of guys, from Trevor Rosenthal to Seth Blair to Brune Whiting, some sleepers there. In prospect wise. And then you look at there's this reliever, and it's something with a K. Is a really hard name to pronounce, but he was absolutely lights out. I don't remember him ever blowing a save, so that's someone to watch. You have Oscar Taveras in the outfield. Nick Longmire has a lot of tools. So does Chris Edmondson. You look at Colton Wong's on the team. Jonathan Rodriguez, a big power guy at third base, high strikeout, but a lot of power. If he can develop that, better, we could see something there. And so really, and Cody Stanley, he was amazing last year at catcher. Every game he'd come out and sign autographs. But he hit right around 300, has some power. And so this Midwest League in Class A was absolutely amazing to watch. Also, Anthony Ferrara, and at one time, Andy Bennis's son was on it too. So the starting pitching staff was great. The relief was great. And the hitters were great. So this is kind of the future of the Cardinals to watch. The organization is very good. Then you look at Shelby Miller, you look at Matt Adams, you look at Oscar Taveras, you look at Zach Cox. You look at, there's a lot of exciting guys from 1 to 10 to really watch. And Tyrell Jenkins, who will be probably in Class A next year, definitely someone to watch there. A high ceiling, hard throwing reliever, maybe starter in the future, really athletic. And guys like CJ McElroy and Charlie Tilson, we recently drafted, really toolsy outfielders, have a lot of speed, will be exciting. So I love the way the Cardinals are going this direction. In a few years, we'll have some really exciting new free agents that are pitching, that could be all-stars right now. We'll be on our team in a few years because we'll have the money to spend. And I think it'll be very exciting when you have those teams. But 2012, we got to be ready for that. We have to be excited. We have to feel like we need to keep winning. 2011, that was amazing. But 2012, we have an exciting team all around. The outfield with Holiday and Jay and Beltran, that's an amazing outfield. And even if Craig comes back and you put Craig in center, or you put Beltran in center and Craig in right, we'll maybe put some more power there. Craig is, in the second hole, and then you could put Beltran in the 5th hole or 6th hole, depending on how the lineup is. So you can make a lot of changes. There's a lot of depth still. We do lose some depth this year, but not, we still have a lot of quality depth in this minor league organization and major league ready talent. So this team going forward looks just about as good as ever. The relief staff is way better than we started. If you want to compare 2011-2012 team and say that we're not going to be as good because we don't have Albert, I'll tell you, 3 major reasons why I think we'll be better without Albert. Excluding the fact that we'll have money to spend and all this stuff, we do lose a franchise player, and we'll probably lose some ticket sales there. But I think, Cardinal fans should be loyal and go to games. The fact that they're signing guys like Carlos Beltran and keeping guys like Chris Carpenter and trying to extend Yadier Molina, the obvious area, it definitely shows that the organization cares about the fans and they want to win, even though they won 2011, and that's what they need to do, and the fans need to appreciate that and go to games and support and buy Carlos Beltran jerseys. But okay, 3 reasons why I think they will be better though. Number 1, defensively, we had so many errors last year, like 16 errors for Terrio. That is, the WAR for him was like -13. We could win a lot more games with sharper defense. With Descalso at second, some Schumacher sometimes at second, but mainly Descalso I think is better defensively. Then you got shortstop. Furcal is so much better defensively. Freeze is pretty good defensively, and if you use Skip Schumacher at second, you can use Daniel Descalso late in games at third. That's what they did last year. Defensively in the outfield, Beltran is solid in the outfield. You move Berkman's so defense in right field to first base, so that should improve. Center field, John Jay is very good defensively. Matt Holliday, he's actually a pretty solid defender. He showed his arm in the World Series, was pretty good. He makes the routine plays there. catcher, there's no catcher better defensively than Yadier Molina. So you're looking defense will help save some games. You look at the relief from 2012 to 2011. Since I don't have time to explain it, look at the differences. So much better. We don't have guys like Trevor Miller and Ryan Franklin and Miguel Bautista. We don't have wash-up guys. We have young, great talent.